Did you know that Xbox is actually beating PlayStation in one important metric? A metric that even PlayStation itself said is more important than console sales, how many games they sold, more important than anything else. This was first found by TweakTown.com, and I think it's a bit interesting as it shows how Xbox's larger strategy could still pay off after a very rough 2022. Let's dive in right now. A big kudos to Brad Sams for reminding me about this and Derek Strickland over at TweakTown for talking about this story. It goes as follows. Xbox is finally beating PlayStation, but only in one way. Now, Derek Strickland goes over the very important way that Xbox is beating PlayStation, and that is monthly active users. Let's talk about why that's important right now. Xbox isn't just a console anymore. Microsoft's gaming brand is now an ecosystem of services and content delivered over all kinds of devices, including consoles, Windows PCs, mobile phones, tablets, laptops, and games can even be delivered directly to smart TVs via the cloud. Microsoft has a vision to grow Xbox's reach to every digital platform to transform everyday consumers into gamers. You see, one thing that Xbox has done very well is expand its reach as much as possible. It gets a hard time from console purists who are like, well, if it's not exclusive to the console, that doesn't count. I beg to differ. I think it's very smart to diversify your portfolio and allow people to access your products through as many means as possible, as long as it doesn't degrade the overall gaming experience. So with all those devices in mind, the one way that Microsoft is beating PlayStation is with monthly active users, a metric that PlayStation itself has said is very important. But let's finish the TweakTown article first, and we'll get to that. Microsoft's latest Q2 financial year 2023 report has confirmed that the plan is working well. Very well, in fact. The Xbox ecosystem now has 120 million monthly active users, which means that many people are engaged with the Xbox ecosystem across the myriad of devices where it is available. That doesn't mean, and that's just not one thing. That's not like Game Pass. That's not any sort of other metric. That is their total metric for monthly active users. And they even have a graph here. We saw new highs for Game Pass subscription, game streaming hours, and monthly active devices, and monthly active users surpassed a record 120 million during the quarter. So they jumped from 100 million in financial year 20 to financial year 2023. Derek Tweak over at TweakTown made this graph. I really like his graphs. Derek, if you ever watch my videos, good graphs, and just generally speaking, they're very colorful and stuff. Anyway, that's an interesting statistic because when you compare it to where Sony's at currently, one key bit of context, PlayStation's monthly active users are not the same as Xbox's. Sony's monthly active users are weighed more heavily to the PlayStation console and reflect a predominantly closed ecosystem. And that's the thing that Sony is trying to change. So all those people who are critical of Xbox for diversifying the ecosystem, as a lot of people call it, I call it that, PlayStation's going to copy that and try and do the same thing because it's smart business. If you have more monthly active users, you have more chance to convert those monthly active users into people who buy things. It's a very basic business practice that a lot of people maybe overlook. I'm not sure why people think like, well, you only win if you have the most console sales and the most people on console. You're limiting your options. You're limiting the options to your customers if you do that. Xbox knew that. Xbox being behind and way behind PlayStation has somehow acquired more monthly active users than PlayStation. Think about that for a second. Xbox is selling less consoles. Their hardware and subscriptions are way down year over year, and yet they have defeated PlayStation. Now, PlayStation's earnings are coming out sometime next week, so we'll be talking about that a little bit more, but it's very interesting data. The critical bit of info underlies one key point. More consumers are at least trying games than they ever had before. There's a lot of unknown still, but we can at least update some charts that show exponential growth for monthly active users. And my wife's calling. What was that? Yeah, honey. Yeah, I know half the people aren't subscribed, and I have that goal of hitting 100,000 subscribers. Yes, I could tell them to hit subscribe right now, and that if they did, I would actually hit my goal today. Wouldn't that be cool before the baby came? Yeah, I know, right? All right. Well, I love you very much. I got to get back to this video, but yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll do the animation where the subscribe thing pops up. Okay, well, they want to hear about me talking about Xbox again, so I love you. I'll be right back. Anyway, sorry, yeah, random call in the middle of the show. Uh, so Nadella has confirmed that Xbox monthly active users grew by 20 million or 20% in the last 3 years. These are incredible features for the Xbox brand and show the expansion plans are working. Xbox, like I said, has a plan of making their games available across more devices, and they've talked to regulators about how the cloud is a big part of that. This data actually kind of proves that figure, doesn't it? Well, at least that's part of the metrics that they're diving into. So let's look at some of the social responses I saw about this. Derek Strickland said, we did get something very valuable, though, new monthly active user data. Nadella says Xbox MAUs were at 120 million, which is an all-time high. Before now, Microsoft hadn't reported Xbox MAU numbers for quite some time. And there were a lot of responses to this. Some were interesting, but let's look at what Derek said to clarify that statement a little bit. Xbox is beating PlayStation in monthly active users, which is one of gaming's most important metrics. As with most Xbox data that Microsoft presents, this is a bit unclear and foggy. There's a few things that we don't know. For instance, we're not exactly sure how Xbox determines monthly active users. Expect this kind of unclear data if Microsoft acquires Activision. Microsoft kind of decided, you know what, everybody's just writing negative stories about us. We're not going to share our data anymore. And what I did find interesting, let me find the tweet originally. So this was originally from Season Gaming via Bloomberg, and Sony CEO Yoshida back in 2020 said, PlayStation platform should be judged by user count, not hardware sales, while discussing pricing struggles for PlayStation 5. That was just 2 years ago that statement was made. So it's sort of interesting that Xbox is now at this 120 million point and PlayStation's at 102. I have to imagine that part of the strategy on PlayStation's front to diversify their portfolio and get into mobile, as I've discussed many times, they're hiring up majorly on mobile, and they're hiring for more adaptation to movies. Last of Us just had huge sales because of the television show on HBO, The Last of Us, and that's working for them. But is it going to increase their monthly active user account? I think it will, but it might take a little bit of time to get there. And just to note the Season Gaming thing, I first noticed that from Colt Eastwood, who, you know, a well-known Xbox fan. Let's read some of the responses that people had to that statement, though. So they don't need Activision Blizzard was from Dark Clung. He's saying it tongue in cheek, but honestly, they don't really. Should they still be able to buy a company that wants to sell to them and the employees want them to purchase them? Yeah, of course. And just like Bungie liked the deal with PlayStation and went with PlayStation, I don't mind that at all. So do they need Activision Blizzard? No. Should they still have the right to buy them? I think absolutely. And honestly, like all these people that are against industry consolidation, that's just going to happen. Ubisoft isn't doing great. Companies come, companies go, new companies come up, and they have a chance at becoming one of those big companies like Activision Blizzard did. It takes a long time to build that, but I'm personally not against acquisitions. I'm not super against PlayStation buying things. I would rather PlayStation bought Square Enix than pretending like they're not having this amazingly profitable relationship together. But Xbox shouldn't do that. You know, like I find that a little bit ridiculous. Here's one from the man with the axe emoji. Creepy a little bit. And it's a lady photo. Anyway, because Xbox counts kids playing Minecraft on all platforms such as Switch and mobile. Yeah, they own that game. And you know what? When Call of Duty is coming to PlayStation, you bet your butt they're going to count those users. I mean, I actually don't know if that's correct, that they count Minecraft on other platforms like Switch and mobile. So like, I don't know if that's actually factual information, but if they counted the users in their products towards their monthly active users, you know what, just thinking that through, I don't know if they can do that. But does that count? Does it not? I thought I had a better response to that, but even if they do, yeah, that's their property. And if people are playing on their property, does that count as monthly active users? I don't think so. I think they're talking about on devices, but maybe not. This person said to Derek, Microsoft claimed in October 2022 that its submission to the CMA Gov UK that PlayStation has more than double the monthly active users, close to 60 million more of Xbox. PlayStation claimed it had 102 monthly active users, so that would make Xbox at 40 million monthly active users. Make sense of that. Somebody actually responded to this and answered the question. Dang it, I can't remember what they said. But did I lose it? I had the, oh my goodness, I'm like losing everything here. But there was an answer to that, and now it's gone. I don't know where it went. I think the answer was, of the 120 million monthly active users across all platforms, only 42 of them are on the Xbox console themselves. Okay, that's using Sony's number of 122 PlayStation monthly active users, and Microsoft claims that Sony has around 60 million more than Xbox. Okay, so that person explained it. That's interesting. And both of these companies are going to do this with their data, right? They're going to present the data that supports their argument the best. And I mean, when you're talking to people that invest in your company, of course, you're going to say, we had a huge success in monthly active users because that sounds really good. When you're talking to regulators and PlayStation says, well, here's the number of monthly active users on our console, Microsoft purposely made themselves look weaker by reporting that they have half the monthly active users. Is that shady? Yeah, a little bit. Like, I don't think that's the way that they should approach it personally, but you know, Sony's not playing fair. Microsoft's downplaying how successful or not successful they are to their advantage. Both companies are just doing whatever is going on there, and I just like to talk about it, but that is what's happening there. And largely, those were the big responses that I wanted to discuss. I feel like I should have prepped a little bit more for those tweets that I was going to answer. I apologize for that. But yeah, it's just interesting stuff to sort of look at, right? So Xbox, their strategy is working. And if they expand into cloud, I've said it like ever since since the beginning, like the initial reaction was, oh my God, COD's going to be exclusive. That's crazy. They'll bring so many people over to Xbox. But even they say, well, like that's stupid because the communities are built up and they'd be evil if they did that. So they're not going to do that likely. But I do think that a lot of companies are, or I do think that other properties that are released by Xbox could potentially be exclusive. Anyway, that's all I had for this story. A very interesting piece from TweakTown. Good job, Derek. And I'll link to the full story. You should go check out his full story. He has a lot of other interesting thoughts about the whole thing. And if you like my stuff, my wife might call again if you don't subscribe. So if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. She would say, you know what? Half those people that watch your videos aren't even subscribed. Do they not know that if they subscribe today, you could hit that $100,000, not $100,000, 100,000 subscriber goal? Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Thank you so much to the members for supporting. Thank you to all these fine people. Before I get out of here, don't forget, you can check out the previous video I did for this weekend here about some regulations that could affect both gaming companies, both PlayStation and Xbox, and the whole industry. Let's talk about that a little bit too. I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.